Narcissistic abuse can be traumatizing. It can cause deep moral injury and leave a survivor experiencing a massive burden of loss, which needs to be grieved. The betrayals and injustices handed out by the narcissistic person are often compounded by further injustice handed to the survivor by our culture. With narcissistic ex-partners, this could be law enforcement and the family court, because abusers frequently make false allegations that cast the survivor as the perpetrator. The acronym used for this in women's protection services is DAVO: deny, accuse, reverse victim and offender. Narcissistic abusers will always blame someone else and refuse accountability for their malignant behavior. They get in first by accusing their target of being abusive, mentally unstable, untrustworthy, or an unfit parent. So right when the survivor needs protection and support, they experience being treated like a perpetrator, adding insult to injury, as the old saying goes. So how can narcissistic abuse counselling help? Essentially, narcissistic abuse counselling is a way of arming a survivor for what to expect after the split, at the same time as experimenting with new tools to balance the nervous system and move towards a new independent life. Whilst nothing about narcissistic abuse is easy to hear, being forewarned can help a survivor be forearmed for what possibly lies ahead and to make sense of what just happened to them. Arguably, psychoeducation is how most victim survivors wrestle back some kind of control over the narrative, instead of being buffeted around by the perfect storm that is narcissistic abuse. High-spectrum narcissists and psychopaths love power and robbing others of power. In order for victim survivors to take back their power, they can either wade through tons of disinformation on the net, or they can find a therapist who gets it. What I aim to do is to teach survivors how to be their own therapist by orienting to strengths, attending to pain, and taking charge of the narrative of their lives. A journey of narcissistic abuse recovery involves understanding the effects of trauma on the body and mind, how to build new supports into your life, how to talk about what happened, narcissism and psychopathy, stigma, cultural victim blaming, and gender issues, how to change your self-image from the abuser's warped and cruel perspective, how to embark on new, safe relationships, and how to envisage a positive new future life. I specialize in what are called third-wave psychological interventions. That is, a more holistic approach to healing that involves using our own internal resources. Approaches that have made their way out of ancient wisdom traditions and into mainstream psychology. I also advocate the exploration of what in Australia we call alternative therapies. By this I mean long-established Eastern traditions that have hundreds or thousands of years of empirical evidence in support of their efficacy, not so-called New Age practices necessarily. My bottom line belief is that victim survivors need to try everything they hope might provide relief from the struggle of deep moral injury. Every survivor will be different in this regard. So recovery is essentially a journey of experimentation. Mindfulness is not a New Age fad. As much as social media might have made it seem a superficial craze, our minds are incredibly powerful. They can hurt us or heal us. Mindfulness-based interventions are about training the mind. In science speak, they're about creating new neural pathways by employing our natural metacognition. So many survivors just want to detach from cruel inner critics inside their minds. Sometimes these harsh critical inner narratives take the form of repetitive thoughts, rumination, nightmares, social anxiety, deep mistrust, self-loathing, or depression. The application of mind training techniques from Buddhist psychology or its science-based twin, ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, has tried and tested methods for detaching, letting go, or diffusing the hold our minds have over us. We are not our rational mind alone. Although analyzing our situation using traditional talk therapy and being heard can get us a long way down the recovery path. Almost every human mind has the capacity to notice what is happening in our mind and body at any given moment. This is called metacognition. Training this capacity is how we learn to be our own therapist. So my role as your counselor is to do myself out of a job.